Day 4 of the first test in Antigua, and it's now time for Ask George. Michael Penharley kicks us off again. Will England even consider dangling a carrot to West Indies, assuming they're still batting tomorrow? And will the West Indies even entertain the idea if they did?
England say they will, yeah. They say they're going to try and give them 65, 70 overs or something, which seems a bit generous to me. Whether they will or not, I don't know. Look, I would understand it if they didn't. I think in a back-to-back test series, and it's 3 back-to-back, there is a case for really grinding the opposition into the dirt in the field. So I would understand it if the pitch, if it doesn't deteriorate at all anymore. I'm not sure how unreasonable it would be to keep them in the field for a bit longer. It'd be a lot of time, wouldn't it? And you know, you've got to remember that England's bowlers have already spent a lot of time in the field, and there's a serious question mark over Mark Wood's fitness. So, anyway, they said at the end of play, they were going to look to kick on and set a target.
Daniel Chapman says, given the state of the pitch, is Rory Burns currently the angriest man in England?
I thought, Rory Burns has played on some flat wickets during his time. I mean, I take your point, but actually I thought batting for the first 15, 20 overs was quite difficult. I thought West Indies used the new ball pretty well. I thought Kemar Roach looked, what he is, a terrific bowler. You know, Jason Holder's always going to ask questions. I don't know that it was that easy. England have played a lot of games of cricket on all sorts of different wickets, and it's true this one is slow and on the easier side. But I don't think we should always explain away success. I thought I saw quite a lot of good in what Zak Crawley did against a decent attack, and it would have been very easy. We've seen it happen many times for England to crumble under pressure. Bear in mind there was a 64-run deficit on first innings. They lose an early wicket. We've seen it happen before. It's what happened actually in Bridgetown on the last tour when they lost wickets to Roston Chase. So I don't want to take anything away from Zak Crawley in particular's innings. I thought there was a lot there to admire.
There's also theory that, you know, a bit like with batting overall, you earn the right to bat on a flat wicket.
Well, you do. I mean, look, we would all acknowledge, I think, that Zak Crawley has been selected on promise rather than achievement. Of course he has. And, you know, he was recalled only a few tests ago, not really because he'd done anything, but because everyone else was deemed hopeless. So, he maybe has been a bit fortunate, but I thought he earned the right, as you put it, because he got through that first 15, 20 overs, and I thought he batted very well. I thought he left the ball on off stump very well. The ball did move. He did have a struggle against Kemar Roach. So it's not just as easy as, hasn't he landed on a really flat wicket? Let's just remember that until he batted, there's only one England batter had got more than 42 in the match.
The ICC add England have a double century partnership as a definition of a poor flat pitch. That's from Danny Franklin.
Well, that's the same answer, isn't it? I mean, it's a good question, and I know what you mean. It's not a good wicket. I mean, we said this yesterday. It's not a good wicket. It's not a good wicket. It's not a good ground. I mean, I don't think we're going to play a lot more cricket there the home of West Indies cricket is Coolridge. It's the old Stamford ground by the airport here. And I think that's where West Indies will play a lot of their international cricket going forward. Whether you could host an England test there, I don't know. Do they bring too many supporters? Maybe. It's going to take a lot of development work to get it up to standard, but that is the plan. And if the Sir Viv Richards Stadium produces wickets like that, I've got no sympathy for them at all.
Frank Moorish asks, will Root's success at number 3 prompt the ECB to keep him there rather than return him to number 4? Yeah,
probably. I mean, a wicket like this does not test Joe Root a huge amount. You know, we know what he's very good at. He's unbelievably good at finding gaps in the field on the offside, playing behind square on the leg side. I mean, if England had a better sweeper, I've not seen them. But he's fantastic at getting the ball down to third man. The only weakness in Joe Root's game, really, is when he's trying to play that shot on the bouncier wickets and whether he nicks off. Well, this is not a bouncy wicket. It is not a quick wicket. And he made the spinner in particular look very, very ordinary. But there were a couple of sweeps he played. I mean, obviously he dropped short and he cut him a couple of times. That's poor bowling. There were a couple of sweeps he played and I just thought, I don't know how you bowled it. But, Joe Root, we know, is a very good player. Yeah, he'll probably stay at 3, won't he? That's the plan. and there's some logic in it. I wouldn't have done it, but there's some logic in it.
Pitched Up Cricket asks, as Zak Crawley has shown the folly of judging Kent batsmen by their county average, what odds of Daniel BellDrummond?
It's actually a reasonable question, isn't it? Because, if Daniel BellDrummond had got the opportunity, he might have done it, he might still. That's not a ridiculous suggestion at all. It's not like, well, I was going to say, it's not like saying Darren Stevens. And I don't mean that critically on Darren Stevens, but if Darren Stevens got picked to play Test cricket in Australia, he's not going to be taking the wickets that, you see in county level. But, if the logic applies to Crawley that he's been plucked out of county cricket because it's not doing him a lot of good and he's going to have to learn his trade at the top level, well, why not BellDrummond? I mean, there's still a space for another opener. It's not like anyone else has nailed that role down. And on the quiet, I thought Alex Lees has had quite a poor game. I thought it was, the second ball of the innings today, England 64 behind, the new ball's tough. He has a swish. It was, I don't know what he's thinking, I guess. He's going to have 3 tests and we don't want to be too harsh too soon. But 2 dismissals, stuck half forward on the crease and a footless waft at one in the first over of the reply. Not a wonderfully impressive start.
Is Wood's injury a coincidence, or given Archer and Stone, do we need to learn lessons about how better to look after super fast bowlers? That's from Andrew Brooks. An interesting question, given that we've spent the last couple of weeks talking about the omission of a 35-year-old and a 39-year-old, albeit they're not maybe the super fast that he's referring to.
No, and there is a difference between, the real quick guys. Look, I don't know that Ollie Stone could claim that he's been over bowled. And I don't know that Mark Wood could. He's had quite a lot of cricket in the last few months. But they didn't bowl him long spells in the Ashes. He did play 3 tests in a row. But it wasn't as if he flagged. He seemed to be doing well. And he has, in the last few months, pretty much exclusively bowled 4 over spells. Well, I would have thought that's the way to use him. And actually, I know he's got this checkered reputation of injury. Sorry. But he's, since the 2019 World Cup, I think his injury record's been terrific. I think he's done really, really well. And that ankle, which has been the problem, is now fine. So to some extent, these things just happen, don't they? Jofra's different. Jofra was over bowled. Jofra was England's special new toy. He was playing every format and he was bowling every pressure over, every pressure point. And in New Zealand in particular, he was clearly very badly over bowled. But I couldn't really criticise the treatment of Wood or Stone.
And finally, the Grumbler asks, if Paul Adams' action was a frog in a blender, then what is the most apt description of Dan Lawrence's?
A dirty protest? Too much? It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like he's doing an impression. And his leap happens and he lands too early and then he has to bowl anyway. But I mean, compared to Craig Brathwaite, it's beautiful. He's a beautiful off-spinner compared to Craig Brathwaite. I mean, Craig Brathwaite is bowling old-fashioned pies, isn't he? Trying to get the batters to slog out to sort of, miscue to deep mid-wicket or something. I mean, I'd be surprised if it works, but he got someone out a little while ago. Who were they playing against? He did get a test wicket bowling like that, maybe against Sri Lanka. But God, you'd be absolutely furious if you got out to that stuff, wouldn't you? I think Lawrence got 16 first-class wickets, and now he's got 2 at test level, so good for him.